Before we start, I need a favor. Let me know in the comments what's been done right or wrong. This also helps me create better content for you all, and check out our Creepy Tales playlist. And now we begin. It was supposed to save us time. Just a narrow cut through the pines, a small, winding trail Wes spotted between the trees. Barely wide enough for a single person, but clear enough to walk without bushwhacking. It wasn't on the map, but it bent in the same direction as the main trail and looked like it would reconnect at the ridge. He said it'd shave an hour off the loop. We should have known better. 5 of us went in, me, Wes, Gabe, Mia, and Jordan. We'd hiked together for years. Knew how to handle ourselves. We weren't amateurs. We had food, water, gear, offline maps, radios, even a backup flare. This wasn't our first trip deep into the wild. But none of that mattered once we stepped off the trail. At first, it was kind of beautiful. Cooler in there. The sun threaded through the tall pines in golden lines. The underbrush was thin. The air smelled like crushed mint and damp bark. We were laughing, cracking jokes, even taking pictures. It felt like we'd stumbled onto a hidden gem, untouched forest, quiet and alive. Then we started noticing the trees. Not just trees, the same trees. One had a burl shaped like a human eye. Another leaned hard left with bark stripped in 3 spirals. We saw them again. Then again. Wes said we were just weaving in a circle, and the terrain would open up soon. But it didn't. Mia tried her compass. It spun uselessly. Jordan checked his phone. GPS frozen. We weren't circling. We were stuck. The trail behind us was gone. Not just obscured, erased. No footprints. No scuff marks. The ferns we'd pushed through were upright again, like no one had touched them. Wes laughed it off, but it sounded thin. Forced. We'll just keep heading downhill. Worst case, we hit the old fire road. So we walked. No one said it out loud, but every step felt harder. The ground got softer. The air heavier. No wind. No birds. Just the sound of our own feet and something else. It started as a whisper. Not a voice, more like a hiss. Faint. Constant. Just behind us. Every time we stopped, it stopped. When we moved, it followed. Not loud enough to confront. Just enough to stay noticed. That's when Gabe spoke up. We're not alone. His voice wasn't afraid. It was certain. By the time we realized we were looping, it was too late to fake calm. We hit a small clearing, maybe 30 feet wide, surrounded by thick pines. Nothing unusual. Just quiet. Still. But I saw it first. A plastic granola wrapper half buried in the leaves. Gabe's brand. We'd stopped hours ago for a snack, and he'd tossed that same wrapper. I remembered teasing him about littering in the middle of nowhere. But this wasn't the same spot. It shouldn't have been. Wes told us to keep moving. He was gripping the topo map so hard it crinkled in his fist. We're swinging wide. It's a forest. Everything looks the same. Don't panic. Then we passed the same clearing again. Same wrapper. Same boot scuff on a rock. Same broken fern where Jordan had stepped wrong. 3 hours. 4. The light hadn't changed. No birds. No wind. Just that hissing, closer now. Not behind us anymore. Beside us. Like something pacing us from just beyond the trees. Jordan tried to break off in a straight line. Take a wide angle, see if he could flank the clearing and come at it from a new side. We watched him go. He didn't come back. 15 minutes. Nothing. We called for him. Screamed. Nothing. Then we heard footsteps. Crunching fast, not his. They circled the clearing once and vanished. That's when Mia lost it. She dropped her pack, said we were cursed, said we should have never taken that shortcut. She kept turning in place, whispering we're inside something, over and over. I don't think she was wrong. Wes and I tried to get her moving. Gabe had gone quiet, real quiet. Just staring at the trees like he was listening for something deeper than sound. His hand hovered near the flare gun, but he didn't raise it. If this place swallows sound, he said softly, the flare won't help. That's when we saw it. Across the clearing. Something ducked between two trees, too tall, too fast, too smooth. Not a man. Not an animal. Just a ripple of shape and speed and silence. Then the wrapper vanished. Just blinked off the ground like it had never been there. So did the boot scuff. And the broken fern. The clearing reset itself. And we weren't outside anything anymore. We were inside it. And it was starting to rearrange the furniture. Mia didn't scream when she vanished. She just stopped being there. One moment she was standing right next to Wes, whispering that she could see something moving behind the trees. The next there was a soft rush of air, like a breath being drawn in, and her outline collapsed inward, as if the forest itself had folded around her. No sound. No struggle. No trace. Wes fell to his knees. I remember thinking that we were running out of people faster than we were running out of daylight. Except, we'd never had daylight. Not really. Not since we took that trail. The light hadn't moved. The shadows hadn't shifted. My watch still said 4:17 p.m. It had said that for 3 hours. Gabe sat down in the dirt, staring at his own boots like they were the only solid thing left. "We're not lost," he said finally. "We're remembered." I asked him what he meant, but he wouldn't answer. Wes pulled himself together long enough to say we had to climb. If we could get above the treeline, maybe we'd see a way out. A ridge. A road. Anything. So we started up the slope. The incline was steep, the ground mossy and unstable. The trees thickened instead of thinning. The higher we went, the more the forest seemed to lean in. The trunks curved subtly toward us, like they were listening. Halfway up, Gabe stopped. He looked back at me, eyes wide, blood leaking from his nose. "It doesn't want all of us," he said. Then he turned and walked straight into the trees. I didn't follow. I couldn't. I just kept climbing. Eventually, I broke through a patch of thinning branches and stumbled into a clearing, not the same one. This one was shaped wrong. Oval. Too perfect. The air was warmer here. Wrong somehow. And in the center was a man in a ranger uniform. He was standing still, watching me. Not moving. Not blinking. Relief washed over me too fast. I ran to him, babbling, crying. "They're gone. Everyone's gone. It took them. It's in the woods. Something's in the woods." He didn't say anything. Just stepped forward and put his hand on my shoulder. And that's when I recognized him. It was Jordan. Not as I remembered him. His eyes were wrong, his skin pale, his mouth too still. I tried to back away, but his grip was tight. "I told you," he whispered. "We're remembered here." Then something moved inside me. And the forest closed its arms around us. And now for our second part. The weirdest part wasn't that the fire was still going. It was that someone had just poured coffee. Steam curled up from 2 tin mugs sitting on a flat rock, barely touched. Nearby, a pack of hot dogs lay beside a camping stove, open but uncooked. A journal had been left on a fold-out chair, a pen resting neatly across the page. The handwriting stopped mid-sentence. Nolan crouched beside the fire, hand hovering over the logs. "It's hot," he said. "Like fresh hot." I looked around again. Tents still pitched. 2 sleeping bags half-zipped. Boots neatly aligned at the tent flap. A water filter system mid-drain. No people. No sounds but the fire and the wind cutting through the pines. "This place isn't even on the route," I said. "It's too far in. Nobody comes out here without days of prep." He didn't answer. Just scanned the tree line like he was waiting for someone to step out. We'd only taken this route because the ranger station said the weather was clear and the trails would be empty. It was supposed to be a 2-night, no-risk loop. Waterfalls, ridge views, easy backcountry stuff. Instead, on day 3, we found a campsite with 4 packs, fresh food, full gear, and no one to claim it. I walked to one of the tents and knelt. Unzipped it. Inside was a phone. Fully charged. Still showing 3 bars of reception, which was impossible. We hadn't had service since the trailhead. I pressed the home button. The screen lit up. The lock screen said, "Jess." My name. Exact spelling. My wallpaper. I dropped it like it burned. Nolan looked over. You okay? I stared at him. It's mine. That phone is mine. He frowned. You left yours in the van, remember? I did. I hadn't even brought it on the trail. I stood, blood pounding in my ears, and circled the tent again. Everything looked used, but not lived in. Like it was built for us, anticipating us, staged with just enough detail to fool someone into staying. Nolan turned the journal around. His face went pale. What? I asked. He handed it to me. There, scrawled in shaky black ink across the top of the last page, were the words, "Don't stay past nightfall." We didn't stay in the abandoned tent. That would have felt like climbing into a stranger's skin. We set up just outside the fire circle, near a slope of mossy stone, close enough to see the site but not sleep inside it. I didn't sleep much. Neither did Nolan. Sometime around 2 a.m., I heard rustling. I thought it was him. Maybe going to pee. Maybe just pacing. But when I unzipped my tent, his was wide open and empty. No boot. No headlamp. Just his sleeping bag, fully unzipped, like he'd been lifted out of it. I called his name, loud. No answer. I circled the site. Still nothing. Then, 20 minutes later, I found him. Curled up 10 feet behind my tent, barefoot and dazed. I must have walked in my sleep, he mumbled. But his feet were clean. No dirt. No cuts. Nothing. The forest floor was full of thorns, sharp twigs. There was no way he walked out barefoot and made it back untouched. And he didn't remember anything. That's when I saw the journal again. It was still open, still sitting in the same chair, but the page had changed. It now read, "You're already part of it." Same ink. Same handwriting. I snapped a photo with my watch. I needed proof. But when I looked at the image, the journal wasn't there. Just the chair. That's when Nolan said, "Jess, I don't think this is a campsite. What the hell else would it be?" He looked at me, genuinely afraid. A placeholder. The words sank deep. Over the next few hours, more cracks started to show. My water bottle vanished while I was drinking from it. The path we used to get there? Gone. Like the brush had grown back. When I tried to retie my boots, I realized I wasn't wearing the same socks I put on that morning. They weren't even mine. That night, the fire relit itself. We'd let it burn out on purpose, left no embers, doused it fully. But around 11 p.m., orange light flickered back to life in the pit. Same 2 mugs sitting beside it. Same half-cooked hot dogs, still sweating with dew. Nolan threw up. Said he saw his own name in the journal. We tried to leave. We walked for hours. Nothing but trees. No ridgeline. No trail. No slope or stream or clearing. Then the trees opened. And we were back at the campsite. But this time, the tents were gone. In their place were 2 new tents. Same models as ours. Same color. Same markings. Same gear inside. One sleeping bag was zip-tight. The other? It was wide open. Waiting. I stood frozen, staring at the tent. Our tent. Same frayed corner on mine. Same reflective cord on Nolan's. Same exact pattern of pine needles scattered around them. Only we hadn't set them up. They weren't ours, they were copies. Nolan stepped back. "Nope," he muttered. No. This is like déjà vu, but built." I crouched low, pulled open the zipper of the nearest bag. Mine, supposedly. My backpack was inside. Fully packed. My handwriting on the snack labels. My half-read paperback stuffed in the side pocket. A shirt I thought I lost 2 trips ago. Every item matched what I left at home. Right down to the folded bandana I kept in the front pouch for wiping off condensation. That's when I knew. We weren't finding our way back. We were being replaced. I turned to Nolan. He was holding the journal. "I didn't pick this up," he said. But he was gripping it tight, knuckles white. Like it had been handed to him. He flipped to the last page. His hands started shaking. "What does it say?" I asked. He didn't answer. He turned it around and showed me. The page was filled with a single sentence, repeated over and over. Lie down. Let the forest remember. Then the ink began to fade. The letters didn't smudge. They vanished, as if being unwritten from the page. We ran. Again. Just took off into the trees, no gear, no map. Ran until my legs cramped. Until my lungs rattled. And eventually the woods opened again. Only this time it was another group. 2 hikers, maybe early 20s, fresh boot, big smiles. Just coming into view through the brush. One of them raised a hand to wave, then stopped, confused. The other froze completely. I saw them look past us, to the tent, to the fire, to the journal now resting calmly in the chair, to the 2 mugs, their mugs, our mugs. I turned to say something, to warn them, but Nolan was gone. I ran to the tent, tore open the flap. The sleeping bag was zipped shut again. I reached for it. My hands trembled. Then, from behind me, I saw myself, standing in the trees, smiling, waving them in. And now for our last part. We first heard the laughter just after mile 8. High up on Dead Tree Ridge, where the trail thins out and the trees lean too far over the path like they're whispering to each other. There were no other cars at the trailhead, no boot prints on the ground, no sign that anyone but me and Lydia had even touched this stretch of wilderness in weeks. But someone was laughing. Not loud. Not cartoonish. Just a casual, warm chuckle that floated between the trees like it belonged there. We froze. I scanned the trail ahead. Nothing. Just the same wall of evergreens and moss-slick rock. But I'd heard it. And so had she. That was a person, Lydia whispered. Right. Yeah, I said. But not close. We both stood still, breathing shallow. The sun was starting to dip lower than it should have been for early afternoon, painting the pine needles in that weird amber light you only get before storms or something else. We kept walking. We weren't looking for trouble, we just wanted to reach the overlook, camp, and be back down by morning. The weather had been perfect. The trail was dry. No signals. No people. Just how we liked it. But then we heard it again. Same laugh. A little louder. A little closer. Still just ahead. Maybe someone else came up from the backside? I offered. Lydia frowned. You'd hear their gear. Their boot. Something. Not just that. She was right. No snapping twigs. No breathing. No idle conversation. Just that laugh. A clean little ha-ha that sounded like it had been lifted from a memory and dropped here, on repeat. Then it got worse. Because the third time we heard it, it wasn't just generic. It was mine. My laugh. That snort choke I do when something genuinely catches me off guard. Lydia recognized it instantly. Her eyes locked on mine, wide. What kind of animal can mimic? None, I said too fast. The trail ahead dipped into a gully. The light didn't reach the bottom. The sound came from there now. Echoing up. A chorus of my laugh. Then hers. Mocking. Playing. We called out this time. Hello? We can hear you. Nothing. Just the soft crunch of a single footstep from around the bend. Then silence. Then, like a needle on old tape, laughter again. But this time, in perfect sync, both our voices overlapping. Not random. A recording. By mile 10, the trail had stopped pretending it was real. We passed the same boulder 3 times. Not just a similar one, the same one. I'd scratched a line into it with my knife after the second pass. By the third, the line was still there, only deeper. Like I'd scratched it again, even though I hadn't. Lydia started humming to herself. I think she was trying to drown out the laughter. It hadn't stopped. Every 20 minutes or so, it would echo again, always from ahead. Always inviting. Never urgent. It didn't sound like us anymore. Not exactly. It sounded like a memory of us, like the forest had heard our voices and was practicing them, rehearsing. Every time we stopped, it would go quiet. But if we moved, even a single step, it picked up again. A giggle here. A full belly laugh there. Sometimes a whisper that almost sounded like a joke we hadn't told yet. I think it's leading us, Lydia muttered. Like luring. To what? She didn't answer. Her eyes were bloodshot now. Her lips cracked. Neither of us had eaten since yesterday, even though we still had food. Nothing smelled right anymore. The air was thick and sweet, like rotting fruit. We tried to turn back. But the trail behind us was different. Too narrow. Too steep. Trees leaned in like they were closing behind us. And the laughter got angry. It didn't sound right. Didn't even sound like voices anymore. It was garbled. Layered. Like too many throats were trying to speak at once. Like whatever was mimicking us had stopped caring if it got the shape of us right. We ran until my legs buckled. That's when we saw the figures. Just ahead on the trail, two shapes moving like hikers. Same packs. Same pace. Same build. Zane, Lydia whispered. That's us. They were walking ahead of us, but we never saw them take a step. Just flickered in place, closer every time we blinked. I yelled. Hey! The figures stopped. One slowly turned. It was me. Not like in a mirror. Not reflected. Duplicated. He smiled. My exact smile. But wrong. Too wide. Too still. I turned to Lydia. She was already gone. No scream. No sound. Just gone. And then her laugh, behind me, in the trees. But not laughing. Calling. The forest opened without warning. One step I was fighting branches and clawing through brush. The next, I was standing in a perfectly circular clearing ringed with trees that didn't move. No wind. No rustle. The world just paused. And in the center? A campfire. Crackling bright. Familiar. Around it sat two people. Laughing. Talking. Eating something on skewers that looked like sausages. The fire cast long shadows, but I could still see their faces clearly. It was me. And Lydia. Perfect copies. Sitting just like we had the first night at base camp. She was leaning back with her legs crossed, hair tied in a knot. I was stoking the fire, poking at the logs exactly how I always do. They were telling stories, our stories. Word for word. I stood frozen, my mouth open. My double laughed just as I did, same cadence, same stupid snort. Lydia's copy turned and looked right at me. And smiled. That smile wasn't warm. It wasn't curious. It was welcoming. Like I'd finally made it to the party, and my seat had been waiting. I stepped backward. My heel struck something soft. I turned. There, lying face down in the moss, was Lydia. The real one. Eyes open, lips parted like she was trying to say something, but nothing came out. No blood. No wound. Just emptied. Like something had pulled her out from the inside. I dropped to my knees. Tried to shake her. Yell her name. But it was like shaking a puppet. She blinked once. Just once. Her lips twitched. And from the other side of the clearing, I heard her laugh. Not from her body. From her copy. It rose from the log and walked toward me, step by step, bare feet silent on the earth. Zane, it said, her voice perfect but not hers. It's okay. You're already here. I turned to run. But the forest was gone. There were more copies now. Just at the tree line. Shadows shaped like me, like her. Like someone else. Figures I didn't recognize, but felt like I should. They moved closer. I could still hear the fire crackling. And then the laughter came from above. Not from mouth. Not from throats. From the trees. Hundreds of them. All at once. And just before everything went black, I heard myself say, "Don't fight it. You're next."